Hi, my name is Angela, and I'm going to talk about why it is important to have labels on the food we are eating. There are food companies that are making food products from genetically engineered crops. The federal government in 2015 passed a law that tells companies that they have to have labels on their food products made from these genetically engineered crops. But the law is not strict, and the law gives the food companies different types of labels to choose from, and there are no penalties for companies that choose not to put labels on their food products. With the lack of knowledge about genetically engineered crops being safe to eat, we need a strict labeling law with penalties for companies that do not put labels on their food products. We need those labels because people have a right to know what is in the food they are eating. What is genetically engineered crops? Genetically engineered crops is a plant that has had its DNA altered to create a new plant not found in nature. Are genetically engineered foods safe? Scientific and government agencies like the FDA have conducted research that did not find any health risk from eating genetically engineered foods. The FDA tells people that genetically engineered foods are safe, but the FDA does not require a pre-market approval of foods made from genetically engineered crops. The only foods that do require a pre-market approval from the FDA are food additives, like artificial sweeteners and dyes. The FDA made the decision that inserting genes into a crop does not make it a food additive. So the FDA has a voluntary process that lets seed developers give them data that tells the FDA that the genetically engineered crop is safe to eat. Opposing scientific research tells us that genetically engineered foods are not safe to eat, that the genetically engineered foods can cause a person to have a higher allergic reaction to the food, that the food can cause cancer, and that the food itself could have little or no nutritional value. Due to the lack of knowledge on whether or not genetically engineered foods are safe to eat, the consumer is left with having to decide for themselves. And that is why having labels on our food is important. Under the labeling law, companies have different types of labels to choose from. Two of the options they can choose from are a 1-800 number or a QR code that can be scanned with a smartphone. The problem with these labels are they can be confusing and hard for people to access. The reason being people will probably not know what the QR code or phone number is for, and there are people who do not own a smartphone. And for those who do own a smartphone, they may not know how to scan the code and access the website. The other kind of labeling that companies can use is the words on the package labeling. This is the best kind of labeling for the companies to use because it simply tells people if the product is made from genetically engineered crops or not. But what kind of penalties are there for companies that choose not to put labels on their products? Under the labeling law, there are no penalties for companies that choose not to put labels on their products that are made from genetically engineered crops. So you can see why it is important for us to have good labels on our food products. Until scientists from both sides can work together and determine whether or not foods made from genetically engineered crops are safe for us to eat, it will be left up to the consumer to decide if they want to eat foods made from genetically engineered crops. And that is why companies need to put good labels on their food products.